Hey, remember when that social justice warrior made that video titled Reasonable Questions for Anti SJWs, and then a bunch of anti SJWs made their response videos? You generated all your discussions and had your back and forth, but did anything actually come of it? Was anything resolved? Did any of you really have your questions answered? Obviously not. Myself and others have been researching for years how to resolve these conflicts, and I believe I have come across the information that can do that now. To understand the wisdom of the words I'm about to show you is to understand how we can all accomplish this individually. This audio clip is from the Hay House World Summit, interviewing Teal Swan on overcoming the past trauma, the shadow, and the inner child.
Okay, so here we go. If your mind tries to take over and tell you a story about what it's feeling, or if you get lost in mental imagery instead of paying attention to the actual sensations in your body, I want you to don't go back to the first thing you were focused on before your mind takes over. I want you to come to the present moment. So this is a practice which we're doing with whatever feeling we have in our body right here and now. So you start like this. Whenever you feel an emotion, so you're feeling those sensations arise within your body, those of you who understand triggers, let's say this: whenever you've been triggered, instead of running away from that trigger, what we need to do is to turn our attention completely inward towards that trigger. So we would find a place to sit down, we close our eyes, and we turn our attention completely to the internal world. The best way to imagine this is to imagine that your skin essentially separates the internal universe from the external universe. And in this process, we're going to be turning all of our attention towards that internal universe. Once you do that, you're going to basically be watching and fully experiencing those sensations within the body. If I was to, let's just get really aggressive. Let's say that you were a heroin addict. If a heroin addict shoots up heroin, what you're going to watch them do is to surrender to the feeling of the heroin crawling through their body. They'll give into it completely and just let it take them over. What I am encouraging you to do in this particular process is to allow the feeling that is present within your body, especially that trigger, to take over your body completely. So that means instead of going and getting out your positive focus journal and focusing positively, instead of watching a movie that feels good, instead of putting on music that gets you out of the mood, I want you to do the entire opposite thing, and that is to completely surrender to that negative emotional state and to just let it consume you completely. And as you do that, you're going to be breathing, but I want you breathing continuously. What I mean by that is in and out your nose with no pauses in between. That's going to accumulate a lot of focus towards that particular emotion that you're fully willing to experience. As you're doing that, I want you to mentally say to your internal world, this is like a mental affirmation. I'm completely here with you now. I choose to feel you. So it's almost like instead of feeling like your emotions are trying to get at you and you have to try to get away from them, imagine that the emotion is begging for your help. And so this is you turning your full attention on it and giving it your unconditional presence. So for as long as you need, I literally want you to be sitting with and completely surrendering to and allowing yourself to experience that emotion, no matter how painful it is, with an attitude of this is valid, I am completely here with it, and I need to experience this, otherwise it wouldn't be present within me. And what you'll notice is you'll feel a lot of resistance. And by the way, you'll get way better at this as time goes on. In the beginning, it'll feel like you're in a constant tug of war because you're like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to be here with this. Oh my gosh, like this is way more than I can handle. But you're essentially developing your feeling muscles. And what you'll feel is after you give it complete unconditional presence, most likely it will peak in intensity. It'll get intense, 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 and then you'll start to feel a sensation of relief, which is your indication that you have surrendered to it completely, and the feeling has got the message that you're completely listening to it. You have taken the light of consciousness into that particular area, and it is essentially burning through the shadow. That's what that particular feeling is doing. So that is the first process that I want you to start doing. I actually created a process for trauma resolution, which is called the completion process. I've managed to turn it into a book. It's going to be released by Hay House this upcoming fall.
Mm-hmm.
But that process takes this step, which I'm asking people to do, this part of the process, much, much further. But first, you have to become adept at doing this part of the process, turning towards the emotions that are painful instead of away from the emotions that are painful. And that will enable the rest of that trauma process, if you choose to do it in the future, to go much, much quicker.
So there you heard how the healing process of having inner turmoil over events or issues works and can be achieved. And now you guys are in for something special, as we go on to part of my Illuminati training to further the level of understanding here. We turn to the book called The End of All Evil by Jeremy Loki. In Chapter 4, Culture, the book says this: Choice. In order to free yourself from the slavery of speech control, you must understand the principle of personal offense. If you are offended by a word or a sentence, then you have chosen to anger and hurt yourself. Culture would have you believe that it has been forced upon you, but this is not true. Culture would have you believe that evil is found in the discussion of ideas, or of the passing of intentional or unintentional insults. It would have you believe that certain words or allusions are where evil is to be found within society. If evil can create the enemy of speech, it can convince you to yield to its control. This is the design and purpose of culture. Though people always feel entirely justified in taking offense at speech, it is nonetheless their full choice. They have the freedom to feel anything they want when they hear the mind of another person, yet the solution offered by culture is to force speech into a manner conducive to culture's tastes. Once you believe that control of speech is noble, you will not wonder at why it is improper to question authority. Wow. Any anti-SJWs watching this right now, tell me, does this not sound scarily like your understanding of what the SJW is and how they operate? And lastly, from Chapter 8, The Pattern of Liberty. It is you who will teach the people of Earth their value. It is you who will bring to pass the greatest revolution in the history of mankind. Only Luna knows how many times throughout our much greater than the commonly known human civilization history, humans have attempted to accomplish this and failed. To challenge the authority of evil, you need to dismantle its tools of violence and culture. Culture is dismantled as disobedience to the control of speech. When you speak your mind and refuse to take offense when others do the same, cultures cannot survive. The culture of Earth teach you to accept, to yield, and obey. The end of evil is found in the refusing of this slavery of the mind. For the end of evil to be achieved, all people must be taught that they owe obedience to no one. They must be taught that the desires and dreams of their hearts are proper and good. They must be taught that every ounce of joy they seek can be had for themselves and those they love. This is the anti-culture, to free the minds of people. Cultures are established first by control of speech. Condemnation of speech is rampant in the strongest cultures. The end of evil will bring the defense of speech in every home, and in every communication. Culture teaches that speech brings offense. Instead, you must see that speech brings a view into the mind of a human being. Ignore the interpretations of culture and see the intent and feelings of them who speak to you. And then speak back. The control of speech is crushed by the power of voice. In the end of evil, people cannot tolerate compulsion of force. The mistakes of history are found where people have allowed the establishment of culture. In every case, it was known that this establishment would destroy liberty. In the end of evil, tyranny will not be tolerated. You owe allegiance to no nation and no law. You are a being of infinite worth, and fully capable of escaping the bondage of evil. I bet the anarcho-capitalists are creaming themselves by now. And really let this last bit sink in. When you feel compelled to not speak, speak. When you are oppressed by the law, circumvent it. When violence threatens you, crush it. There is nothing to fear in freedom. Violence is the tools of first and last resort for evil. Those few who will use it to enslave cannot be left alive.